Hello everybody, it's Connor Brady, and I'll be doing something a little bit differently with this video. I'll be making a tier list of Slipknot records including MFKR and CROWZ. And now anyways, let's get started. Alright, first off, I will be ranking MFKR, which is the first demo of Slipknot. And I'll be putting this in good, and before I was making this video, I was going to put it in great, but two things were holding me from putting it in great and putting it in good instead. And those two things were that the album just sounds bad, and I'll get to that later. And then two, the songs are more on the experimental side because Slipknot was just in its infancy, and they were trying out new things and stuff. But to be fair with the crappy part of the record, this was recorded in 1997. Pro Tools and GarageBand and Reaper and all those other applications that you would use for like recording stuff didn't exist until like the early 2000s, and Slipknot used good old tape recording and stuff like that, and they self-produced this, and they had about 30 to 40 grand, and that's understandable why this sounds the way it sounds. But some notable songs from this record are Slipknot, because this would later turn it into Sick, Gently, which would later turn into Gently off of Iowa, Only One, which would turn into Only One from Self-Titled, and Killers Are Quiet, which would turn into the song Iowa from Iowa. So that's my ranking. Now we'll move on to CROWZ. Next is CROWZ, and I'll be ranking this at the great selection. Because because this is more of a step up from the Futility. They were refining their sound at this point, and there were still some experimental songs like Do Nothing Bitch Slap, and a part of Only One, the demo for Only One, was more experimental, but they were really refining the aggressive sound that they have now, and also back in '99. The whole aggressive tone really shines with certain songs. Like for some notable ones, Slipknot and Gently, those were combined into one song, and it spanned for like 11 minutes. It was really long, and I did a cover of it, and it sounded really good. Only One, Me Inside was written at that time. Windows, which has some parts of People Equal Shit and Opium People off of Volume 3. Interloper, which would later become Diluted. And also, Interloper on CROWZ was actually played in the weird F sharp, with the other F sharp was like an octave with drop B tunes with this F sharp. And what Slipknot used to do with scissors, or actually does with scissors, is that they tune down, especially for live versions, they tune down the E to F sharp, so you have the octave there. And last but not least, Carve, which would later become Before I Forget, because the riff in the beginning of that is very similar. It's actually the same thing as Before I Forget. So that's my ranking for CROWZ, and now we'll move on to Slipknot's self-titled record. Alright, so the next album that we're going to be looking at is Slipknot's first real record, self-titled, and this would kickstart them into becoming, the famous band that wore masks and stuff like that, and would put them into the eye of every single 12 to 13-year-old in 1999, and also put them on the map. This record is one of the greatest records that was created during the 90s, honestly, in my opinion. Also one of the best Slipknot records, period. Some notable songs off of this record are Sick, Purity, which is by far my favorite song from Slipknot, Only One, Me Inside, Spit It Out, which would be the demo version, and the hyper version would come out and stuff, and then Eyeless, Wait and Bleed, which is a very good song in my opinion, and like basically the whole record is just one great masterpiece in my opinion. And now we'll move on to another masterpiece, Iowa. So the next record that we're going to be looking at is Iowa, and I'm also putting this at the best. And Slipknot, self-titled, and Iowa can be interchanged, but this is, I know I said about the 90s with Slipknot, how it is one of the best records from those years. For the 2000s, Iowa is one of the best records. Like, it doesn't, like, compare to anything else, honestly. It could be the best record from the 2000s. But, you know, Iowa's got some great songs on it. You can still hear the stuff from self-titled. Gently comes back, like I said before, and the riffs from Windows, like with People Equal Shit, come back. And some notable songs are People Equal Shit, Disaster Piece, Gently, The Shape, I Am Hated, Skin Ticket, Metabolic, which is actually a new one that I've discovered, Iowa, which would become, Killers of Fire, like I said before, would become Iowa, and the list just goes on and on. This record is so good. The stories that have been told about this record, especially with the band, are pretty dark, honestly. And this record came from a dark place, and you can really hear that in the record in general. And also that one time where Sid played the record to like Papa Roach's drummer, and something with his like head or something like that, just like completely like, I don't know what it was, but I read that in a Loudwire article. But you know, this is just another masterpiece that they released. But now we're gonna move on to a really decent record. It just doesn't compare to self-titled Iowa, and it's Volume 3. So next up, we're gonna be ranking Volume 3, the Subliminal Verses, and we'll put it at great. This record had to really grow on me as a listener. I like a lot of the deep cuts on here. Like, for example, the Nameless, Opium for the People. If you want to count it as a deep cut, Blister Exists. Scream. Not Nomadic, sorry, that's one of the great chapters. You know, just a lot of deep cuts on there are just really good off of this record. But it doesn't really, in my opinion, doesn't compare to Iowa or self-titled. I mean, a lot of people could say that's not the most unpopular opinion, but it is a decent record after all. I mean, Duality and Before I Forget are pretty good, honestly, in my opinion. I don't really listen to them that much anymore, but, you know, I just kind of, like, died down from the hits and stuff like that. But this record had a big change for the band, specifically with Corey Taylor, in my opinion, with the lyrics. And it wasn't the lyrical concepts, more how the lyrics were written. Less curse words, especially considering like Iowa had like 13. There was 13 times where Corey Taylor, actually probably more than 13 times, Corey Taylor said the F word, or like literally any other curse word, but like nothing's really here. It's all just like, you know, regular words, no curse words in here. But you know, and then you also hear more solos in here. They're just, you know, they're there, and that would transition into All Hope Is Gone, which we'll talk about next. Alright, next up we're going to be ranking All Hope Is Gone, and I'm going to put it in listenable. This is a decent record. It's not the greatest record. It's not terrible. It's not that bad. It's just decent. It's in the middle for me, and it's just not good for the good tier or the great tier. And certainly not the best tier, but there's a lot of solos in here. There's a good amount of songs that I like from this record. It's just less than any other record that I like from Slipknot. For example, like Gehenna, Gematria, The Killing Name, which they really need to play those two songs live. That would be really good to play those live. Psychosocial, I kind of stopped listening to that song because, you know, it's just like, whatever. I mean, it's a hit, whatever. Dead Memories, same thing. Sulfur is like, it's in the between of like deep cuts and good songs, and then like the hits. I think it's a really good song. But like everything else, like Vendetta, is that how you say it? Yeah, probably. And All Hope Is Gone title track, I think it's just not that good. those songs are just kind of boring. But it's a decent record. But next, we're gonna move on to the Gray Chapter. Ranking the Gray Chapter, and I'm gonna put this in good. Like Volume 3, this album had to grow on me for a little bit. I thought this was complete trash, but there were a lot of good songs on this record. And for example, The Negative One, Leech, Nomadic, some of the hits, The Devil and I, Kill Pop, and also AOV. There's a lot of good songs on here, and like you could hear that with everybody in the band, and I think that what fueled that was the death of Paul Gray. I mean, it was very tragic, and you could hear like the sorrow and the melancholy tone that this record provides for the listeners. But it's not. Obviously, it's not going to be self-titled in Iowa, but they're decent record. It's a decent record, honestly, in my opinion. But it's definitely not like All Hope Is Gone, where it's kind of like some of the songs are just there. I mean, there's some songs where they're like filler songs, like Be Prepared for Hell, but you gotta have that in a record sometimes. Like, you just gotta do what you gotta do. So next up, we're gonna go on to We Are Not Your Kind. We're gonna be ranking We Are Not Your Kind. We're gonna put it in good as well. This one didn't really have to grow on me, well, nearly as much as the Gray Chapter in Volume 3 had to. I mean, straight from like when Unsatan was played, it was a pretty damn good song in my opinion. Also, like some of the hits like Solar Firth, and UF Forte, and some of the deep cuts like Not Long for This World, which they should also play live. That's a really good song, and an Orphan. They're just really good songs in my opinion, but it's like a decent record as well, like the Gray Chapter. But next, we're gonna move on to the last record, and that is The End So Far. Last record that we're gonna be ranking today is The End So Far, which is Slipknot's latest record and probably the last, sadly. It's such a sad reality, honestly. But that's okay, because we're ranking it, and we're gonna put it at great. It's in the low great, because it's not like Volume 3 or even CROWZ, but it's great. I do have this on vinyl, and it's a damn good album as well. Some notable songs are Harloom, some of the hits like Chapeltown Rag, The Dying Song. Yang has got a really cool melodic tone to it, and I find that really fitting, especially in this record. Warranty, H377, but I do have some criticism. I did say this in my album review too. Why did they put Adderall in there? That is my only question for anybody that's in the band. I do not care who it is. I don't care if it's Craig. He's probably not going to answer the question, but I don't care if it's Craig. I don't care if it's Clown. I don't care if it's Corey or if it's Jimmer. I just want to ask, who in the right mind made this song? Because this is completely, this is a step back. Basically just a step back. It's basically Radiohead. And I know I'm making a lot of criticism, and this is constructive criticism. I love this band. They've been one of my favorite bands for a very long time. Since I was like 10, which is, well, actually no, not even, like 8, when I was 8. But I can't believe that. I can't believe that. I mean, I guess it could have a creepy tone to it, because it's like, oh, it's kind of like rainbows and flowers all around in here. But, like, it could be kind of eerie. And when it went to the Dying Song, that was, I guess, kind of a cool transition. But there could have been something there to maybe connect it to it, like some static or something like that, or some creepy noises in the background. I don't know. But that's pretty much what my take on that is. But anyways, that's the end of the list. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And also, I will leave this tier list in the comments and the description below. And if you guys want to make your own, then you can do it with this link. So anyways, I'll see you guys in another video. And yeah, so see ya.